Thank you, sir. Thank you for presentation.
Yeah, thank you.
Now we request LoraKim. LoraKim, are you there? Yes, yes. Yeah. LoraKim is the acting secretary of the Parrot Research Group. She is one of the great women, and she is working since so many years for environment. She has written 2 books, and which is the best selling in the area of environment area, and we are her big fan. So we are welcome, LoraKim.
Hello.
Yeah, and now please go ahead.
Can I share the screen now?
Yeah, please go ahead. Yeah.
All righty. How are we doing? Can we see everything okay?
Everything is okay.
Everything's okay. Well, thank you so much for having me. What a great topic, and how wonderful to be addressing this at this time. I am the co-director of One Earth Conservation, and we do parrot conservation, but we connect it to people health and community health. So we have a program called the Nurture Nature program, which shifted a little bit for us during the times of the pandemic. And one way that we phrased it was, how can we get close to nature when it's out to get us? And of course it always is. We get sick, we age, we die. Animals scare us, and various parts of nature is hard to deal with, the predator-prey cycle. So how can we connect to nature when we have this ambivalent relationship? How can we be nurtured by nature, and how can we get near to nature, especially in times such as these, in our hard times? And so one thing that we really wanted to emphasize in our Nurture Nature program, which is a philosophy and it's based on science, was that we need planetary health. And the pandemic shows us that. And the health of all of us is interconnected. So we need our communities to be healthy. We need individuals to be healthy. We need wildlife to be to be healthy and connected. And so it's this vision that we take care of ourselves is taking care of the earth, and taking care of the earth is taking care of ourselves. So in our Nurture Nature program, we have all these levels of learning to understand who we are in this planet of relationships, so we can be healthy, because we need to know who we are and we need to know the other to be able to be healthy. So what we look for are tools and ways of approaching education or experiential models where you can embrace the reality, all the hard parts of it, the beauty and the tragedy, so that we can be the most nurtured possible. Just because we want bad times to go away or illness to go away, we often don't have a lot of control over that. So I'm not saying to accept it, but how can we understand it so we can be the best possible nurturers of our own nature and of others? And so it's all about just relationships, of how we are in relationship with our beautiful selves that's connected to beauty all around us, and how can this make joyful and resilient communities, maybe not all the time, but at least in certain moments, to be able to nurture us. So we base this program on just 5 of our natural intelligences, and they help us connect and nurture nature. And by nature, we mean human nature too. So these are the intelligences that we work with, and they all are interrelated, and they all build upon each other. And so I'm just going to give you a little overview of what these different intelligences are, so you can see how the program works. So emotional intelligence, it's just really asking, what am I feeling and needing? And it's being aware of our own feelings and emotions and behaviors of ourselves. It's knowing ourselves. So we give an entire weekend workshop on this. So it's a big program. And it's connected to body intelligence. I heard one of the other speakers talk about body movement as something that's important, because our bodies subconsciously tell us what we're feeling and needing, and our bodies seek that even without our conscious awareness. So we do body work, such as a body scan. So what we might do in a virtual workshop or even in person is ask everyone to take a deep breath. and just listen to what your body's telling you. And maybe some of you all right now are going, oh, I'm hungry, or I need to go to the restroom, or I need to go take a break. And so we listen to our bodies. And then another piece of emotional intelligence that we work with is the self-empathy piece. And it doesn't mean like being soft on ourselves, but it just means understanding ourselves. And it's a curiosity and openness to one's feelings or moods. In other words, what am I feeling and needing? Not saying it's wrong to feel this, or I shouldn't be angry, or whatever, or I shouldn't be sleepy. It's saying, oh, I'm sleepy right now, or I'm angry right now. And why do we pursue emotional intelligence? It gets back to human health again. And then here's just a long list of pieces over here about better relationships. We have better management, leadership, less stress, better health, just overall improved well-being. So this emotional intelligence piece is important to have healthy and productive humans, and this emotional intelligence ties us to all other life on the planet because they have it too. And so we want to learn about ourselves so we have the capacity to learn and care about others. So what are the practices that we do? And we can all do this right now, is just listen to your body and what it's telling you, and accept it by being openly curious about, no wonder I'm feeling, let's say, irritated. No wonder I'm feeling irritated. I'm really needing some spaciousness and rest right now. And just to learn to translate everything we experience into feelings and needs so we can bring to this present moment our consciousness and acceptance of who we are. Okay, so then we will build on social intelligence, which is the same thing, but just moving on to others. You know, what are others feeling and needing? It's being with the beautiful other human. And so that's the same thing is what are others feeling and needing? And we're doing all this because it gives us choice in how to interact as a group. Emotional intelligence gives us the ability to interact or to make choices as an individual, and social intelligence does that for working in groups. And social intelligence also makes for better organizations. Studies have shown how it helps us take better care of our organizations, our schools, our projects, when we have free-flowing and understanding of the emotions and the needs that are going on within the group. So there's many ways to teach this as well, but one of the exercises we'll do that gives energy to the group is, and this would be maybe perhaps more for the adults, we have these specifically designed for younger generations as too, is share your dream of a more beautiful world. Where would you like to be right now? What would you like to be doing? What would the world look like? And as we do offer deep listening, after people are done sharing, they can express and make guesses about what the other person is feeling and needing. Something as simple as this at the end and the beginning of organizational meetings or classroom times helps the group get smarter with feelings and needs. Okay, so this is just a really quick overview. So we're moving along here to multi-species intelligence, which means being with the beautiful other species other than humans. It's really a form of social intelligence, and we just distinguish it because it means other species. So here's the definition of that. It's the ability to understand species' needs and behaviors and motivations and how they relate to others so as to benefit them. In other words, what are others feeling and needing? It's the same principle that we base all our intelligences on. So one thing of how other species can help connect to humans is to understand, like I said, we're heavily science-based as well, is that emotions motivate individuals to move towards satisfaction and benefit. This is all of life. And if it's not an emotions, we can use the word subjective experience. This connects us to all of life. We move towards that which is going to benefit us, and we move away from that which could harm us or just be uncomfortable for us. All life does this. And here's just a way of depicting that. It goes all the way down to the one cell level, that they still have a subjective experience that moves them and motivates them towards harm, or away from harm, or towards benefit. So when we think of it this way, it gives us, in some ways, an objective understanding of ourselves and of life around us, and perhaps increases the nature connection by doing this. So we do a whole bunch of work on understanding other species. And so, for example, we might show a slide like this that shows what are the 7 or 8 basic emotions that species feel, and how might they be similar to ours. So here's a human showing disgust, and here's a dog showing, what do you think? Anticipation. And what do species need? This is where we will get into more science. We base this on the 5 domains of well-being. Here are 5 areas of what do species need. And here it is again. It depends on our group of people, like veterinarian students. We definitely would do a lot more in this area. But one way that we can try to understand what species feel a need is to just have them pretend to be another species. We do walks where we say, go off and be an ant for half an hour. And by having your body move like another animal, we actually get a sense of their motivations and feelings and needs. And studies have shown that this ability to empathize can elicit emotions and empathy and a greater willingness to care for nature. So just pretending to be another animal. And one way we might do that in short, brief ways, this is, what does the parrot say? We work with parrots, so we use parrots. And so here is a little poster that has parrots doing all these different activities. And we point to them, we say, well, if you were this parrot here, what might you say? And of course, we have puppets and drawings to go with this. So they put themselves in the place of a parrot and try to guess what the parrot is feeling and needing. Okay, now we're moving down to ecological intelligence, is really to understand what are the many needs and feelings going on in a web of relationships. So what are the relationships needing? What is nature needing? What's going on with everybody, and how is it connected? And so to be able to get closer to nature in nurturing, it's all ecological intelligence, really. It's about, well, here's this word, accepting inherent harm, tragedy, and benefit, and beauty in life systems. It just means this is what life's about. It's about live birds, and it's about birds that die. And how can we understand that so we don't turn away from what could connect us to all of life? And it gives us choice in how to respond to what's in nature. So one of the things we concentrate on is this idea of ecological empathy. And it's a sense of gaining belonging by experiencing connection and beauty in the biotic community. Your body, your subconscious knows that you belong, even if up here you don't. And so by being out in nature, we become part of these relationships, and it's a holding, it's an empathy, it's a resilience exercise to be out in nature, to be seen by the many others that actually do see us and interact with us. So as we embrace the world around us, going out for a walk, we are embraced and held by others. And I'm sure that many of you all are familiar with all the work that's been done on how being out in nature and going for a walk can do all, look at all these things that it can do. Many, many studies out on this. And so part of our work for ecological empathy is based around walks, designed walks, going out with various age groups or other activities, because studies show us that if you get, here's young people out on a rafting trip, that they'll have sustained levels of satisfaction for weeks afterwards. And just a reminder about our various able bodies that we have is some of this works even if you look out a window or even look at a painting of nature. So we need to adapt this for the needs of the people where they are. So what we might do on our walks and our ecological empathy is to stop and listen to life around you. We listen to trees, which in the springtime here, I'm in the North America, we can hear the sap rising. We can hear them, basically their blood vessels. We hug the trees because it's like physically being hugged back, or we hug the ground. We look up, studies show that looking up does amazing things for our brain function and our sense of compassion and kindness and connection and humility. We do breathing. We do stretches, because as you move the body, you change the emotional level of what's going on with humans. There's a lot of science behind this. We touch, we bow, we get on the ground, because all these things connect us to other life and move our bodies towards being willing to be open and vulnerable to life around us. And our last intelligence is this thing called spiritual intelligence. And there's so many different ways to define what do we mean by spiritual. And we do need to be non-religious. So we dance around this a little bit. But what we basically mean, it's the ability to transcend the individual ego concerns, our own self, and connect to that which is greater than the self. And this fosters wisdom, acceptance, compassion, presence, and mindfulness. And that's what we want out of growing ourselves as human beings. It's the sense that there is no separation, that it's something we just perceive, that what I'm feeling and needing is what life is feeling and needing. And in other words, it's the big view, just kind of going, yes, floating above Earth, for instance, and just seeing the way the world is. So we have a lot of practices around this, and some of them are just standard ones that have been around for thousands of years, such as mindfulness practice, or meditation, or breathing, or yoga, or body movements. So what we do in our programs is try to combine all these intelligence, because you can see by this Venn diagram that they interrelate and they overlap. And if you're doing one, you're actually working on them all. So as I said, one way that we do this is what we call wild walks, is connecting to the wildness within us that merges all the practices together. And so we have guides available on our websites. When we go and do workshops, we'll tailor them to the exact location where people live. And then I'm in the Metro New York area, so we do them regularly at some of these places, which we have not been able to do during the pandemic, but I'm going to show you a workaround that we did for that. So here are just some of the pictures. We do times when we'll do multi-generational, but these are just happening to be showing pictures of our adults. So one thing that we're trying, and we're just now developing this, is virtual wild walks. It's in a program online called izi.travel that downloads to your phone. So here is a building complex. It's a congregation. And your phone knows when you walk to a certain tree or a creek, because it's centered with a GPS. And then a voice starts talking and leads you through all these nature experiences and connecting our meditation. So we're developing these so anyone can use them, and also anyone out there can do it themselves. So we don't need to be in large classroom groups. We can actually do this. Not that we want people to do it on their own, but in times of the pandemic, we know that we can't be in large groups leading these, but you can do with people that you live with, where there's not a risk of transmission, and do these same walks. So we just now are posting one for Central Park. We're pretty excited about this. We don't know how well it'll go over. I can't give you any background on that. So next steps and resources, we have a book out there that has a lot of these practices and understanding. We have offered this to teachers and instructors so that they can be the model for others, because they have going through it. So and they can just incorporate in all the different, even arithmetic, history lessons, we can bring all of this in. So I recommend you to our website, and just sort of to sum it up is, what's it all for? Why do we want to nurture nature? And these words by Neil deGrasse Tyson says that accepting our kinship with all life on Earth is not only solid science, but I view it's a soaring spiritual experience. So we want to feel connected to nature for ourselves, and because it's science, and because we can care for others as we go along. And we always close our time together with expressing gratitudes. It's a wonderful connection, nurturing practice. And I think we're right at 20 minutes, so we need to stop, and probably not any time for questions. But if anyone would like to have any questions, or contact me in the chat or on the email, which is on our website, or if anybody would like to express gratitude, or even silently to yourself, think about some things that you were grateful for, because this helps open us and connects us to one another and to nature. And that concludes my talk. And I sure do
Thank you,
appreciate
Dr.
y'all
Laura
being
Kim.
with me.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Laura Kim. It was very informative session. And in India, we call it nature rituals. Like every religion has their rituals, so we call it nature rituals. How to feel the natures, how to communicate with the natures, how to understand the language of animals, birds, plants, trees, and then how to heal them and how to get energy from them. So this is the way we teach in India as part of nature rituals, and those teachers who administer these rituals, we call that nature's own priest. So they